stop and smell the flowers if you like to climb the trees.
Hello and welcome back. It's time for me to show you some of the things that I've been making this week. The first thing I want to show you are my So Over It ultimate trousers. Now I absolutely love these. So I'm going to head back so that hopefully you can see them all in shot. They're a gorgeous cigarette style pant, straight legs. And they're made with the fabric that I bought from the Gold Hawk Road. So it's a gorgeous cotton stretch. It's really nice and thick, but it is incredibly comfortable. And these trousers really are ultimate trousers. They fit absolutely perfectly. I've cut a straight size 12 from the packet. They've got darts at the front here and again at the back. And a little enclosed zip on the left hand side here. I've just turned mine under a couple of times, but you could roll them up or you could shorten them, make them more cropped if you want to. I think the only thing that I don't like about these trousers is that they are very low waisted. So I'm going to flash my belly here, sorry, but you can see they are really low waisted. Now I wouldn't wear a t-shirt or a cami top tucked into these with it that low. But you could draft your own waistband to put on them, and if you did that, then I think they'd look really nice with a t-shirt or a cami tucked into them. So I'm going to give that a go at some point. But I do absolutely love these. I'm going to go through the pattern in a bit more detail and just tell you a couple of things about the pattern that I would potentially like to change. Okay, so the pattern comes as a printed pattern from So Over It. Inside you get your regular tissue paper pattern. I traced mine off because I wanted to be able to make the shorts and also the trousers. So I traced mine off so I could use them again. Couple of things, and they're really nothing major, but with the trouser back panels, the back leg, there is a double notch in the crotch area. Obviously a double notch, for those of you that make your own clothes, you know that is a symbol that you always use for notches in the backs of garments. One thing that I noticed is that the facings don't have any notches, and they are different, the front and the back facing. One is slightly smaller than the other, but if you were a novice dressmaker, you wouldn't necessarily know which one is which, so it would be handy just to have a double notch in that back facing, just so you could tell the difference. As I say, it's a tiny little thing, it doesn't matter, but just something that bothers me. The other thing about Also Over It patterns is that they do have darts, but they're marked by placing two little notches at the edge of the pattern and then a dot further down for your dart. Now I can often miss darts when they're like that and they're marked like that on a pattern and they're not marked as a full triangle. And I did miss them when I traced off the shorts. When I went to make them, it says, "So the darts," and I'm like, "What darts?" So went back to the pattern and sure enough there was the little dot and the two notches. So just to remember when you do trace off their patterns, and even when you cut out the tissue paper patterns, if you want to, I find it handy to actually draw in my dart marking on my paper pattern. The only other thing that I noticed, for those of you who've made trousers before, you'll know when you sew up each leg, you sew all the way down the outside leg and then you sew from the ankle up to the crotch on the inside leg. But it could be, when you read instructions that says pin along the inner seam and stitch in place, it could be quite easy to stitch all the way up here and all the way up here. And this bit we don't want to stitch. So it just might be handy to just make a little note in the pattern to remind yourself just to sew from here to here. Again, it's a tiny thing, it doesn't really matter, but it was a nice detail that if it was in the pattern would be quite nice, especially for people who've never made clothes before. But I do know I'm going to be making these trousers over and over again. I made them yesterday on my new sewing machine and I made them with my friend Laura. And she had a go at making them as well. And there's pictures of her trousers and my trousers on our Facebook page. So do go and check that out. So I'm going to go and get changed now. I've got another 2 garments to show you. Hello there, I'm back again. And now I am wearing the Butterick B5748 This is one of the retro Butterick patterns, so they've been recreated from vintage patterns. Now I've made this dress before. I made it out of an old duvet cover many moons ago when I was quite a bit bigger, and I actually had to take this up from its maximum pattern size of 22, and I had to add a couple of inches to it, which is quite embarrassing. As with all packet patterns, they do come up particularly small, and even when you are a size 10 or a 12, you're often making a size 14 to 16. So do make sure that you take full note of the measurements on the back of the packet and measure yourself carefully before you cut your pattern out. Now I should have been making a size 14 at the bust and then grading out to a size 18 at the waist. But it wasn't until I'd finished my dress yesterday evening and I tried it on and I had loads of bagginess under the arms that I realised that for some unknown reason I'd cut myself a size 16 at the bust. Now I have to say, I know I've lost weight, but I've never had a 38-inch bust, so what made me cut a size 16 I do not know. So I was really disappointed. The dress sewed up beautifully from cutting it out yesterday afternoon. Thank you, Alice, for doing that for me. I stitched it up last night on my brand new sewing machine and I really enjoyed making it. And to put it on and then find it didn't fit properly was really heartbreaking. So I did do the unthinkable, and I have to admit I just pinched out an inch under the arms and I sewed down to that waistline. And I think you'll find I got away with it. Let's have a look, shall we? So you can see it's a nicely fitted bodice. It comes in nicely at the waist. It looks like it's gathered into the waistband, but it's not. It is a completely flat waistband. But because it is a full circle skirt, it flows out really beautifully. So I really love this dress. It's a nice low rounded back with an invisible zip. It's just low enough that you don't have your bra strap peeking out any lower, and I think you would do. But it was going to look beautiful in the summer with a lovely pair of high heels and a petticoat underneath it. And I plan to wear this to a dinner with my friend on Saturday night, Elspeth, my sewing buddy, because it's her birthday. So absolutely lovely dress, can highly recommend you making it. You probably will have to grade the seams because it does come up for funny body measurements, to be honest. But that's nice and easy to do, and if you want a bit of help with that, then always give me a shout, and I can pop some links for helping you grade your patterns, or if you're local you can come into the studio and we can help you do that. So I've got one last thing to show you. I'm going to go and get changed again, and the next thing I want to show you is yet another Sew Over It pattern. So I'll be back in a minute. Hello there, so this is the last thing I've got to show you, and it is the Sew Over It Cami, the little set that sneakily fell into my shopping basket that I vlogged about last week. I really like this pattern. It's really nice. The fabric's gorgeous. It's ever so soft and floaty, and it does sew up really nicely. The pattern itself is made with French seams, so it's got French seams in the side seams, French seams in the facing side seams, and it's just turned under twice at the bottom. If I made it again, I think I'd lengthen it ever so slightly. It doesn't quite come down to cover my bottom, and I do like a cami to come and cover my bottom. I think if I tuck this in, there isn't really a lot of bag to bag out, so I would probably make it a little bit longer. The facings aren't interfaced. I think if you interface them, they would probably sit nicer, but because the fabric's so floaty, it wouldn't work. I have to admit I have top stitched them around the neckline, because although I have given them lots and lots of pressing, I do still find they rolled forward a bit, and that really bugged me. The straps are quite thin as well. It's all sewn with a 1 centimetre seam allowance, so you can get a very nice top out of a very small amount of fabric. But because of the 1 centimetre seam allowance, there's no leeway to understitch your facings down or anything else for those finishing touches that you might like to do. Other than that, the instructions are relatively clear. I was absolutely fine until I got to joining at the shoulder straps, and then I got in a complete and utter pickle. The photographs, again, they're not fantastic. What I actually had to do was go and look on the Sew Over It blog and find their sew along for the cami top, and that showed some bigger, clearer pictures, and it made it a little more obvious what I needed to do. one needs to be inside out and one needs to be in the right way, and that's not particularly clear in the pattern. So I did do a couple of attempts of getting it right, just using a basting stitch, turning it in and praying that it was right. And after about 3 attempts, I cracked it. But it didn't take very long. In fact, not including cutting out, I could, if I hadn't have struggled with the straps then, I could have sewed one of these cami tops in an hour. They are really nice and simple to do. I think though, now that I've made it, I'd like to make a few more, but as I say, I will lengthen them for my own wardrobe. But I'd actually like to have a go at drafting my own cami pattern. The top that I was wearing earlier on with my ultimate trousers is just a Primark top. It's nothing special, but I like the wider straps, I like the boat neckline, and it comes down long enough to cover my bottom. So I think using that top as a pattern, I'm going to see if I can draft my own. So watch this space and we'll see if I succeed. But I do love this top. You can't buy this pattern on its own anymore. It's not available. I think they teach it as their floaty fabric class at Sew Over It. But this was as a one-off kit, and I know that they have sold out now, but they may release some more. So who knows. Before I go, I will show you again my lovely little cherry dress. I promised you after my sewing bee video that I would make something children related. And you might have already watched the video of little Izzy out in the garden showing off her cherry dress. She wanted to wear it and show it to you. But I didn't really explain exactly what I'd done very well, because I was conscious she was running around and my next door neighbours were shouting at each other. I don't know if you heard that in the background. So here it is, here's the cherry dress. It is a made by Ray geranium dress. As I mentioned in the video, I have added 2 inches to the bodice length. It would have been really, really high up and sort of almost empire lined, which would have made her tummy stick right out. And I didn't think that was particularly attractive. So on reflection, I think I'd probably lengthen it a little bit more next time, because it could have done with coming down a tiny bit. It's got lots and lots of gathers. It's a very big gathered skirt anyway, but I did add 5 inches to the side seams of both pattern pieces. So there's actually 20 extra inches all the way round this skirt, and lots of gathering. So it's going to be super frou-frou for her to wear. The back of the geranium dress normally has poppers down the back, which is fine, I think, for a baby or toddler, but once they reach the age of 5, they don't really want to have, you know, gapey holes in the back of their clothes, so I prefer to put an invisible zip in. I absolutely love this dress. It's one of my go-tos. I think I've made Izzy about 6 of them. This is the first one I've made age 5 though, so this is why, hence the adjustments with the bodice. So I'll crack that for the next few that I make her until she gets even bigger. And I'm making age 6 and 7 ones. So that's all I've got to show you really. I have got a couple of questions for you though. I want you to have a think. We're going to a beach hut for Isabel's birthday party, and she's going to wear her cherry dress. And I'd really like to have a dress in the same fabric, but I fancy a real 1950s style Lindy Bob dress. So with the kind of sculpted bust area, with perhaps a halter neck with a nice bow at the back, and again big full circle skirt. I can wear a petticoat underneath. So I'd like your recommendations for patterns for that, for me to try. In a sensible size, please. Nothing vintage. I've got a 36, 30-ish, 40 frame, so please bear that in mind when you're recommending patterns to me. I'd like to know what you come up with so I can go and buy some fabric and get that made. The other thing is, I'm really grateful. My subscriber rate is going up and up and up at the moment. You're obviously liking what I'm giving you, which is really nice news. But obviously I want to keep giving you things that you like, so please post in the comments below. Let me know what you think of the videos and let me know what you want me to make. And I'll go out there and find some patterns and some fabric and make various bits and pieces. And it doesn't have to be clothes. I'm quite happy to talk you through making other items and putting some top tips of how I put bunting together, for instance, or inserting an invisible zip. Anything like that. Just let me know what you want to see and I will try my best to deliver. Last but not least, I've been watching other people's vlogs on sewing and looking at some of the things that they do, and one of the things I've noticed is a lot of people do kind of Q&A videos where they sit down and they have a cup of tea and they answer your questions about themselves and their business. So for those of you who know me, I'm Claire, and I run a sewing studio in Brentwood, Essex, and we teach sewing classes and craft classes to adults and children. So that as a basis, ask away. Hit me with your questions and I'm going to compile my favourites, and I'm going to do a post as soon as I've got enough questions, that is, a little bit more about me, and you can find out about who I am, what I do and what I love. So you can ask me anything you like. My favourite breakfast cereal, what time I get up in the morning. I don't mind, but I want to know what you want to know about me. Let's be nosy together. So that's the end of my video for this week. I will be back next week. I'm going to have another look around and see how much more stash I can bust, and also finish off making some of the makes that I've mentioned to you in previous videos. So I will be back probably in a week or so. I'll see you later. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.
If you like to stop and smell the flowers.